حي على الفلاح.
This army marches, some 70,000, with the pomp and ceremony, and 11 or 13 mammoth of elephants, and this Mahmud in front of a giant by any definition, and they come towards the haram. All of a sudden they hear the screeches of birds, and they come from around, the different horizons, if you like, mountains, hillsides, till it looks like the sky is covered in darkness. And they are special birds, and they swoop down with 3 pellets, 1 in the beak, 2 in the hands, and they pelt it like that. Didn't you see what your Lord did to the companion of the elephant? Didn't He make their plans into a disgrace and sent upon them birds from every direction, pelting them with baked stones of clay, and He left them like chewed out fodder? Abyssinians took over Yemen. The 2 generals, one is Ariyat and the other one is Abraha. 2 people in similar positions, ambitions take over. Eventually, half of the army supported Abraha, half supported the other one, and they were going to have a fight. So Abraha says, listen, and me and you will have a duel. We'll have a fight. Whoever wins becomes the general of the entire army. So in the olden days, how dueling worked, so what you do is you come to fight, and you bring what you call a second with you. They will fight, and whoever wins or whoever dies. So they say Abraha was not physically wow, and the other man was solid, big, general. So the fight started, and the Ariyat smashed him with his blade or with his spear, and he tried to defend it, but it cut through, and it got Abraha, like it cut his eyebrow, cut the edge of his eye, slit his nose, and down his mouth. So because of that, they used to call him the one with the split face. But as he got hit, and he's down, and the blade of this general is on Abraha, his second jumped and stabbed the general. So Abraha became the general of the entire army. The problem is, this quarrel was okay between generals, but the generals belonged to someone else. So when Najashi heard that his general's been killed, he swore an oath that I will come and trample on your land and cut your forelocks. So Abraha, before the king could come, cut his own hair, put it in a bag, and took some soil, put it in a bag, sent it to Najashi, goes, "O king, I heard your oath. Here's the hair that you wanted, and here's the soil. Trample on that soil, take this hair in your hand, your oath is completed. He was your servant, I am your servant, we are still in obedience. We just had a quarrel in which he unfortunately died." And then to kind of win favor with the king, he said, "But now I will build you a cathedral, the like of which has not been built for any before you. So I will build you a church." So he set out and he built a monumental thing. In those days, they say the pillars were so tall, the towers, that if you looked up, your hat would fall. The crosses had gold and silver on it, and the pulpit had ivory, and it was a work of art. And then he said, "I will tell the Arabs to forget about the Kaaba and worship here." So when he said this, historically Arabs don't take insults very well. So when the Arabs heard that he has said this, that he will come and take, change our direction from the Kaaba to his cathedral, one of them took the long journey, went to his cathedral and defiled it. The man defecated in the corner. Abraha got very upset when he found that it is someone related to the Quraysh. There's another narration that another group of young lads came and they tried to start a fire, and pretty soon they burnt the whole cathedral down. So whichever one or both. So now Abraha got an army organized to come and erase the Kaaba. So Abraha took a huge army, some say 70,000, and An-Najashi sent a specifically, a special elephant just for this purpose. So they say there were some 13 elephants, other scholars say 11 elephants, at the head of which was this mammoth of a thing, and the name of this elephant, this one has a name, it's called Mahmud. Huge thing, and I actually researched, how big these Ethiopian elephants grow. And I found a picture in which this mammoth of a thing is standing next to a four-wheel drive, and the four-wheel drive looked small. So if you can imagine an army coming with these big elephants, and the elephants were trained for war. And can you imagine this big thing? And they usually have armor on them as well, so that spears and stuff cannot go in. It was a frightening sight. And normally horses and camels are afraid of elephants, so they can't stand in their way too much. So this huge army, at the vanguard of which is these huge elephants, is making its way out of Yemen with the idea that I'm going to destroy the Kaaba. The Arabs decided, let's put up a resistance, first in Yemen. When they stood up against them, he thrashed them, took their leader as captive. Another tribe decided that they're going to show a little resistance, annihilated them, took Nufail as another guide from here, spared his life for the condition that, listen, you will guide the way through. He accepted. Came towards Taif. Taif had already heard what has happened. Taif had a big idol, like a temple themselves for one of their idols. They didn't want the man to make a mistake and destroy this one. So they came out and said, listen, O king, we are your servants. The one you're looking for is on the other side. Here, take this guide with you and he will show you. So this in Arab history is a very embarrassing thing that this tribe did. And the man went to kind of lead the way to the Kaaba so that Abraha, the Abyssinian, could destroy it. But 2 miles out of Mecca, the man died. They buried him there in a place called al-Qalis. And the people used to stone his grave out of, the sense of shame and upset that, you were trying to destroy the Kaaba. So Abraha camped 2 miles out of Mecca. And he's a general, he knows how to play the war game. He decided to send a battalion of horse riders into the city so they can loot. And he came and they collected booty, they collected animals, they collected weapons, they collected wealth and brought it back to Abraha. So part of what they collected was 200 camels of Abdul Mutalib. Now at this stage, where's Abdullah? He's gone on the business trip. Amina is pregnant. 50 days after this, she will give birth to someone very special. This is why this is Amul Fil. Abraha is in his camp. They've probably pitched a high-class tent for him. And he sends a delegation inside the city, send me your chief. So they send him Abdul Mutalib. And they say he was a man of very imposing presence. The weather of the desert evident on his face, So he's come in. As he came into the room, Abraha looks at him. When Abraha sees him, he actually gets up to greet him. And then he thinks, where should I sit the man? Because if I sit him next to me, he will be my equal. And protocol-wise, that's not appropriate. So, and I can't make him stand, so he says, let's sit on the floor. So Abraha sat and Abdul Mutalib sat with him on the floor, like on the carpet, if you like. And he's heard about him. He is the one that is the custodian of the Zamzam, the one that's benevolence is known. He feeds the wealthy and the non-wealthy, and he's known. So a man with that reputation, he expected, that he will come and try to bargain with me with regards to the Kaaba. So Abdul Mutalib says, I have just come for my 200 camels. So it was an anti-climax for Abraha, like, I gave you respect, I calmed down, I thought you're all that, and all you're interested in 200 camels. So he told him, he goes, I was impressed by you, but you just want 200 camels. So Abdul Mutalib said what is recorded golden line in history. He said, I am the Lord, I am the owner of the camels, and the house has its own Lord. So he will defend the house, I will defend my property. So he returned the camels, and Abdul Mutalib has now seen the army. So he came back to his people, there's no way. Vacate the city, go to the hills, because Makkah is surrounded by hills and mountains. So everyone has gone up to the mountains, to the hills, but they can see, because when you're up the hill, you can see what's happening. And then this army marches, some 70,000 with the pomp and ceremony, and 11 or 13 mammoth of elephants, and this Mahmud in front of a giant by any definition. And they come towards the Haram, and this Nufail man comes next to the ear of the elephant. He had learned some of the commands walking with them, and he tells the elephant, one narration, kneel, sit. And another one, it says, kneel, you're approaching the house of your master. So it knelt. And can you imagine the annoyance of Abraha? Everyone's watching, this is the grand finale, he's going to destroy the Kaaba. So get the elephant moving. So they come, get up, pull, nothing happens. They poke, nothing happens. They get hooks. If you poke someone, they have to get up. So elephant won't move. So they pull him that way. He's happy to go that direction. Gets up, goes. Happy to go that direction. Happy to go backwards. Tell him to go front, he kneels again. So as they're getting frustrated and busy, getting upset and annoyed, trying to lift this thing up, all of a sudden they hear the screeches of birds. And they come from around, the different horizons, if you like, mountains, hillsides, till it looks like the sky is covered in darkness. And they are special birds, and they swoop down with 3 pellets, 1 in the beak, 2 in the hands, and they pelt it like that. And the scholars say special stones, like wherever it hit, it would go in a linear line across. So if it dropped at the head, it would come back out of the bottom. If it hit the hand, it would come out of the other side. And once it hit, very quickly the meat would rot. So can you imagine, the sky is filled with the screeching and the pelting, and they can't do anything, because what can you do with a bird? It's a little thing, you can't shoot it with an arrow, because birds are just flying about. So the army's in disarray, the elephants are screaming, it's going, and Abraha got back on his horse, and they took him up, but he got hit. And as he's traveling, the body deteriorates, and by the time he reached the stop near Yemen, his body had fallen so much apart that they say his heart could have just fallen out. And all of Makkah watched. They saw. And Allah Rabbul Izzah reminds them in the timeless verses, قال تعالى, أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ? Didn't you see what your Lord did to the companion of the elephant? أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ? Didn't he make their plans into a disgrace? وَأَرْسَلَ عَلَيْهِمْ طَيْرًا أَبَابِيلَ, and sent upon them birds from every direction, تَرْمِيهِمْ بِحِجَارَةٍ مِّن سِجِّيلٍ, pelting them with baked stones of clay. To my mind, probably radioactive or some kind of chemical in it. فَجَعَلَهُمْ كَعَصْفٍ مَأْكُولٍ, and he left them like chewed out fodder. Like you've ate grass left here and left, scattered, dispersed, torn apart. And as this is happening, here on this mountain is Amina with her little infant who will be born 50 days from now in an event which will eclipse the year of the elephant altogether. Because to us, bigger than any military campaign is the birth of the Rasul. Salawatu Rabbi wa salamuhu alayh. I thank you, my dear brothers and sisters, for your patience. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.